Ready? Great. Good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, I guess now. And welcome to a zoning bylaw amendment meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda. Bob and Roger. All those in favor? Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interests? Seeing none. So this evening, there's a public hearing scheduled for one zoning bylaw amendment. It's application number ZBA 25-08FR Sylvie and Janou Kurshine. The Planning Act requires that a public hearing be held before council decides whether to pass a zoning bylaw amendment. The public hearing serves two purposes. First, to present to council and to the public the details and background to a proposed rezoning. And second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before council's decision is made. Monsieur Dumont will provide a summary of the application. From there, the applicant will be requested to make a presentation if she or he wishes, followed by questions from the public, either in favor or against the proposal. Council will then have the opportunity to question the applicant, the director of planning, or any persons giving presentations. The zoning bylaw amendment will then be considered by council tonight. Monsieur Dumont, would you please advise how public notice was given?
Thank you. So notice of public hearing was posted in the municipal office and was sent by mail to the assessed owners within 120 meters of the property subject to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. So what does that mean? Under the Planning Act, which governs law for land development, there's different types of applications. Previously, the Committee of Adjustment, the minor variance applications are 60 meters for a radius. This particular application is under Section 34 of the Planning Act and requires 120 meters radius circulation. So that's what Nancy did at the Sudbury Planning Board. She circulated anybody that falls within that radius, received a notice this evening. And to those persons and agencies likely to have an interest in the application. So if they reach out to us, we'll provide the information as well as part of this process. So notices were sent out on May 21st, 2025, being over 20 days. Again, that's law. You must send out the notice so many days in advance prior to this evening's meeting. And that, again, that's under that Section 34 of the Planning Act. So 20 days prior, which we exceed. And then included with the notice was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, a key map showing the location of the property, and any other aerial imagery sometimes we provide, or a site plan. In this particular case was the site plan that was kind of provided by the applicant. We attached that in this particular notice.
Thank you. And I now declare this portion of the hearing to be a public hearing to deal with application number ZBA 25-08FR, Sylvie and Janou Kurshine. Monsieur Dumont, would you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to this application?
Thank you. Subject property is located north of Highway 64 and east of Lakeview Drive, with direct access provided via Hillcrest Road. The site is approximately just Crochane Lake and Lower Sturgeon Lake, so it's in that area, those two little lakes. And the surrounding land uses, I'll touch on each direction. So west, predominantly, we have rural residential lots with large lot sizes, typical of a rural area, so that's west of the site. East, we have waterfront residential properties, along with there's one waterfront commercial tourist zone with a special provision number 4. And the special provision zone permits a clubhouse and includes restrictions limiting the number of tents and trailers to the site to 92 units. So predominantly, if you look at the aerial imagery or Google Maps, it's waterfront, with that exception of that one tourist establishment, which I just went in further detail, provided what that meant. South of the property is a large parcel designated as rural, subject to site-specific provision. Again, another site-specific amendment, similar to why we're here tonight, site-specific amendment. So that one is number 64. What does that mean? It means at the time, which I wasn't part of this process, but it permits a wood processing and recycling operations. So that's directly south, large parcel of land. Notably, the provisions allow for development without a minimum lot frontage requirement. Again, that's in the bylaw that speaks to that number 64. So that's to the south. North, we have Crown land. So pretty much surrounded the existing uses or budding uses to the subject property. The mix of surrounding uses reflect a combination of rural residential, waterfront recreation, and limited industrial and commercial uses, contributing to a diverse land use context. So those are the facts to the situation. So the purpose of the public hearing this evening is to consider the amendment or zoning bylaw amendment under the municipality's bylaw, which is 2014-23, and it's under section 34. So the Sudbury East Planning Board received a zoning bylaw amendment application for the property located at 68 Hillcrest Road in the municipality of French River. The site is situated north of Highway 64, east of Lakeview Drive, and with access from Hillcrest Road. The property is approximately 90 acres in size and has 20 meters of frontage. So the site currently contains a single detached dwelling with an attached garage, as well as 2 accessory structures. So there's a cabin and there's a detached garage. And that information I obtained through MPAC. So MPAC provides that information as well as the applicant and the site plan. So it aligns perfectly in terms of structures on the property. So the property is currently zoned rural. The applicant is proposing to maintain the existing rural zoning, but add a site-specific permitted use called special events. That's the permission that's being requested this evening for council. The proposed additional use is intended to allow for activities such as weddings, family reunions, anniversary celebrations, photography sessions, among other similar events. So that was the information as part of the pre-consultation process that the Sudbury East Planning Board undertook with the applicant and gathered that information, which reflects as part of the site plan. Now, when we're looking at whether a recommendation of support from myself as a registered professional planner, I got to look at the official plan, and I have to have regard to the official plan and the zoning bylaw as well as the provincial legislation. I did touch on that in my report, the growth plan, the provincial planning statement. I'm going to skip that. It was in there. I'm going to focus more on the local policies, land use policies, just more or less the official plan and zoning bylaw. I'm going to touch on that and then tie into the comments that we received as part of this process from the public. So with that said, the lands are designated rural policy area. So the proponent basically has to demonstrate that the activity is more appropriate in the rural policy area. So that's the objective. That's the goal here. Service and tourist commercial uses, publicly owned open spaces, limited residential development in the form of single family homes. So these are different types of like uses under the OP may be permitted in the rural area without requiring an amendment to the plan. So that basically means is saying, hey, without doing an official plan amendment, which is why we're not here this evening, but it may be subject to zoning. So that's why we're here, saying that instead of having to do an OPA, an official plan amendment, you have certain criteria you have to follow, and you could amend the zoning bylaw as long as it's deemed appropriate for the rural area. So in terms of some of the bullet points I've highlighted as part of this determining whether it's reasonable or appropriate in my report. So supports economic diversification in rural areas. I had 2 bullet points. The rural policy area recognizes the importance of supporting rural-based economic opportunities, including tourism and small-scale commercial or recreational uses that are compatible with the rural character. So the proposed special events that we're discussing this evening, I would say predominantly weddings as the factor here. It provides a low-impact seasonal use that aligns with the rural tourism, so more of the summer months for outdoor weddings. That's that seasonal impact, which is, in my opinion, low. Maintains the rural character and compatibility. So that's the other point that I touched on in my report. The proposed use will occur on a large 90-acre lot, providing sufficient buffering from neighboring uses with appropriate operational measures. Again, the operational measures is beyond the scope of why I'm here this evening. So Sudbury East Planning Board looks at the land use and the compatibility and goes through this exercise with council. So when I say appropriate operational measures, that's speaking to other departments, specifically bylaw, building services, when it comes to noise control and parking. So I just want to, share the perspective of my role, why I'm here with the information on land use, and the other departments and their roles and how that kind of factors in on those operational measures. So the use can be compatible with the surrounding rural and waterfront residential properties, in my professional opinion. No significant physical changes to the landscape are proposed as of now that would alter the rural character of the site. That's another fact that was due diligence as part of this process. And lastly, conforms to the rural land use intent. The rural policy area permits a range of land uses and recognizes the need for site-specific provisions to address unique proposals like the one that we're hearing this evening. A site-specific amendment allowing, quote, special events ensures that the use is recognized in the zoning bylaw while being limited in scope and scale and preserving the overall intent of the rural designation. So the application, in my opinion, as proposed, generally conforms with the intent of the policies of the official plan. Moving along to the zoning, again, the lands are zoned rural. We're looking at site-specific. It's number 111. So 111 is the number that's attached to this proposal this evening or bylaw. So I'm going to look at the lot standards and the legal non-compliance to provide a rationale. So lot standards, section 7.22 of the rural zone. So it established minimum requirements. So the minimum requirements are lot frontage, lot area, as we know. Minimum lot area is 5 hectares. It exceeds that. We know that. Now, in terms of the lot frontage, 100 meters, but this was created before. So again, going back to my previous presentation, tying this in, it's legal non-complying in terms of the frontage. So that's a moot point. It's not discussed this evening. It's legally established. But again, I'm just going through the standards and providing the explanation here. So the subject lot has an existing legal non-compliant frontage of 20 meters, but meets and exceeds the minimum lot area of 36 hectares. The existing single detached dwelling and accessory structures also comply with all applicable setbacks. So if you look at the site plan, you look at all the setbacks, front, rear, side, interior, it meets all those. So I'm kind of going off a checklist of items of all the requirements to see if they conform or not. So far, everything kind of conforming. And another key point here as part of this proposal, there's no permanent structures that are being proposed as part of the special events use. No additional lot coverage. So again, I didn't have to calculate any lot coverage. Obviously, it'd be very, very low because it's 36 hectares or 90 acres. But because this is more like transitioning and no permanent structures, there's no need to provide those details as part of this exercise. So no lot coverage because there's no permanent structures as part of the special events. And that's pretty much it on that end. Proposed use special events, again, the addition of special events as permitted is consistent with the general intent of the rural zone, which accommodates low density uses and recreational or tourism oriented activities on a site specific basis. The proposal involves temporary uses. Again, the theme here is temporary, seasonal, not permanent structures. The proposal involves temporary uses such as tents, seating areas, gathering spaces, which do not require permanent structures or services beyond what already exists on the property. That's very important to understand as part of this. Also examine the parking requirements under section 6.3 of the parking of the zoning bylaw. And it basically states that 1 parking space per 30 meters of total commercial floor area. So there's not something, so basically what I do is I look at the section, it's quite extensive, and what's most appropriate, what kind of ties into what's going to work with what's being proposed. I use the one parking space per 30 meters squared as a ratio. While this regulation technically applies to buildings, again, it applies to buildings. I'm just trying to put everybody's mind at ease and with the information that no new structures are proposed. It may be used as a guiding principle to evaluate the parking. That's sufficient as part of this proposal. With approximately 90 acres of land, the subject property has ample space to accommodate on-site parking for guests and service vehicles associated with the special events. So that's me kind of just touching on, reflecting on the official plan, policies, as well as the zoning bylaw standards. Moving along, agency comments, as I touched earlier, when we circulate the 120 meters, we also circulate to utilities, other departments, municipality. So the municipality of French River departments, through circulation, there were no concerns or comments with respect to the application. Now, with respect to the notices that were sent out, we received three concerns. So I'm going to walk you all through those three. So first, as a writing of the report, we have received one walk-in with concerns regarding the proposal on Lakeview Drive. The individual expressed concerns about high volume of traffic, vehicular traffic, and resulting dust from the increased usage of the road. While the neighboring property owner at 158 Lakeview Drive did not oppose the proposal itself, they were primarily concerned about the condition of the road and safety. Additionally, our office received a formal letter from the property owner at 188 Tureen Road, who raised several concerns, including noise and disturbance, potential environmental impact, the loss of community character, and the precedent that this proposal might set for future developments in the area. They also voiced concerns about the increase in traffic that could result from the proposal. Mr. Henderson also called today, who's present this evening, and he's also part of the 188. So we also talked about that, and we'll be in attendance to discuss noise and the proposed location of the venue as well. So I just kind of summarize all the facts to the information provided to myself as part of this, and this was also my report too, with the exception of Mr. Henderson's conversation, which I added to my script on the fly today to share with you. And so with all the information considered and the impact and considering conformity of these land use policies, my recommendation, I did provide a recommendation of support in my staff report to council. So I still stand that the proposal this evening conforms to the official plan, conforms to the zoning bylaw, also conforms or is consistent with the provincial planning statement, as well as the growth plan, which all ties back into the Planning Act at the highest level. And I'm happy to have or answer any questions from council or the public this evening, as this is a public process, and that's why I'm here as well, to address any other concerns or issues that council or the public may have.
Thank you. Sylvie, did you want to make some comments, or do you have a? Of course. Just go to the microphone, please. Yeah, press the button.
The gray button. And if it's red, it's on. Okay. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Pajot and members of council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'd like to take a moment to share the vision that guided me when I began the process of applying for a zoning amendment to allow for special events on my rural property. I approached this with care and consideration, not just as an applicant, but as a neighbor who values the character of our community. My goal is to offer a picturesque, natural setting where people can celebrate life's meaningful moments, such as an intimate wedding, a family gathering, or simply a special photo session to capture lasting memories. Our property provides an ideal backdrop for these kinds of events. It's scenic and deeply rooted in the natural beauty of our surroundings. I am not proposing large-scale or high-impact events, but rather small, well-managed occasions that align with the values and identity of our municipality. This proposal is about sharing a space I care deeply about in a respectful, responsible way and will ensure full compliance with all municipal bylaws, all while supporting local businesses and creating new opportunities in our community. I will remain open to any feedback, both positive and constructive, and committed to addressing any concerns. My goal is to create a space for memorable moments without disrupting the community we all so value deeply. Thank you again for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there any questions or comments from members of the public? If so, go to the microphone, press the gray button, state your name and your address, please.
Thank you. My name is Ron. My name is Ron Henderson. I live at 188 Trent Road. Thank you for the opportunity. I think I'm going to start by saying I feel I have to say this is Sylvie and I go way back. So we happen to be neighbors, but this is not adversarial in any way. And I always wish the best for Sylvie. Whatever happens here will be good. So we're just. She has an idea, a proposition for her property, which is her right, and I respect that. And as her closest neighbor, I just have certain concerns about what this whole thing is all about. And even after what Sylvie just had to say, I'm still a little bit confused because, I have this vision in my mind. And actually, if I can just step back a sec, one mistake I kind of made, and I wish I had it for you guys today, because it was so appropriate for this whole discussion. It was on Saturday night, 2 nights ago, my neighbor had a wedding. And I knew this was happening. They probably got, I'm sure they had a special occasion permit and did all the right things. And so I had this wedding. In fact, I let him park his cars at the overflow because Trent Road was like a log jam of cars and what have you. But the point I want to make is that the wedding went on into the hours of the night. And, once it got to be 11, it was okay. But when it got to be midnight, 1 in the morning, and the band was still playing, I just sitting back thinking to myself, I said, this is not cottage country. This is not what we signed up for when we moved out here. So with that, I should have went out with my phone and took a few photos and a little bit of sound for you, just to let you know what a wedding close to water sounds like. And I know most of us live on the water anyway, so you appreciate what I'm saying. So I guess I'm still a little bit, before I express all my comments, I'm still a little bit concerned about, like Sylvie just talked about, having small gatherings. So I have this vision of a 100-person wedding, not a 12-person. Like, I don't know still don't understand what the intent of these special occasions are. But if it's left wide open to quote unquote small gatherings, that's how they may start and grow into something else down the road. I don't know. But I can tell you that, so my concerns really speak from that perspective. It's more the fact that, we all on Trent Road purchased in cottage country, and we all have a vision of what cottage country is. And certainly we didn't sign up for, a place that had events with noise that went off on into the wee hours in the morning. So, and this is one question I will have at the end is, because I'm not even sure what the municipal bylaws are, if this special event designation went through, is there a time where the music would have to be turned off, kind of thing? And I can tell you one example for me, another personal example is last year my wife and I got invited to a wedding in the Muskokas, and the wedding went on into the wee hours of the morning, but the music stopped at 11 because it was a bylaw of the municipality. And so I don't know that information, but that's certainly, yeah, maybe it does. So if that was the case, because I can tell you the wedding that happened on Saturday did not end at 11. It went past 1 in the morning. I'm the neighbor. And
Did anybody call?
no, you know what? We're all trying to be neighborly and, we just kind of let it go. But I mean, it just, I mean, I'm sure I'm sure Dan heard it across the lake, like, because I mean,
I hear it across the lake all the time.
Yeah.
Sit in, but unlike others, I'm not shy about calling 911.
yeah.
And they do go and they'll put a stop to it.
Right. So fair deal. So if 11 o'clock is kind of the curfew, that would be a good thing. But yeah, I mean, just to express, I guess, my planning concerns with the whole deal is a few things. As I mentioned, it's the character of the area. It's cottage country. I don't believe, we've been wrestling with Airbnbs and all the problems that come from those. I'm sure you've had to deal with here at a council level. And, I just don't see cottage country as a place for weddings and anniversaries and these type of things, particularly when in Albin, we have a community center right in the town center of Albin that's specifically designed for these purposes. It's ideally located. It's away from residential areas. I've been to a few weddings myself at the Albin Community Center. So it's not like we don't have anything. It's where I believe, from a planning perspective, these type of event centers should be. The character of the area, it's cottage country, as I just mentioned. I just don't see a place for, events that attract large gatherings and vast amount of noise that, an anniversary or a wedding or that type of event would have. And the other issue I stated in my letter, I'm no expert on this, but between Tren Road and Sylvie's property, Sylvie is just a wonderful environmental sanctuary. Let's just, if you at evening have a campfire, you'll hear birds and frogs and what have you. It's one of the most beautiful environmental spots in the entire area. There's a creek that kind of meanders through. So I don't know if this development is this special occasion, a designation was to go through, if it have any impacts environmentally. But it's just a concern I raised. It's not my primary concern. It's more, to be quite frank, noise. And Sylvie's property it's 90 acres. It's up on a bluff. It's pretty high. I've been up there many times myself. It's got a beautiful view of the French River, but it's like sound travels. It's there's no barrier. There's no trees. There's nothing. It's just that it's straight a valley of space to the French River that sound travels. And and not to be disrespectful because I'm not, but when Sylvie was building, when any activity that goes on her property, we hear it because it's just the nature of what it is. So just that whole sound piece is a concern, particularly when we have, as I said, our own community center in Albin. And I'm just going to finally end by saying I just wanted to make a couple other points regarding the application that concern me. Is they have 90 acres of land, which is fantastic, big piece of property, but the area in the map that they're proposing be the area for these gatherings couldn't be in a worse location for the cottagers on Tren Road, because it's right on the bluff overlooking Tren Road, where there's many places on the property that abut Crown land, that's deeper into the property, that's nowhere close to residential areas. But I get it. I mean, it's the view and everybody wants the view. I get, but it's not an ideal location when you have 90 acres of land and with no buffering between their proposed venue area and where the cottagers are. And so that's it. Yeah, that's basically my concerns. And I don't want you to think I'm just a lone guy here. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of my neighbors, other than I've been elected the spokesman. We've all kind of had our conversations about this. And and we just wanted and I just wanted this opportunity to let the council know that we love cottage country. We want to kind of keep it the peaceful, serene, quiet space that we bought into. When I'm having a campfire at night in my backyard, I don't, not that I'm a tree hugging guy, but I like listening to birds chirping. I don't want to hear a band playing on top of a mountain that's just directly behind me.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Again, go to the podium, press the gray button, your name and your address, please.
I'm Mark Savard from 158 Lakeview Drive, Albin. Yeah, all right. I don't oppose the proposal. I'm not here to oppose it, but I do have some concerns. Can I circulate and share a photo I took on May 12th from my phone? Can I do that? No, I can just quickly circulate just for you to.
Thought you wanted to put it on the thing there, and I was going to say, don't ask me. Mhm.
During the springtime, the summertime, and during the fall, when there are consecutive dry days, days without rain, dust clouds are created by each passing vehicle, even noticeable from small cars. It's on May 12th of this year, I decided to take the photo of the school bus coming down the hill to drop off my grandchild. As early as the month of May, the moment my granddaughter gets off the bus, and for the next few minutes after, both of us have to breathe in this thick dust into our lungs. The situation happens almost every afternoon during dry days, and we even noticed it sometimes at 7:30 in the morning while waiting at the bus stop. My property receives almost all the time a great portion of these dust clouds because the prevailing wind is from southwesterly. Because of this situation, my family members and I are reluctant to spend time outdoors when it's nice and sunny. And the large deck that cost me $43,000 to build is not getting much use. The cause of this dust is the amount of traffic on Lakeview Drive, and the solution is to treat this road and to treat it often. That's my first concern. The other concern is we who all reside here are familiar with this road, Lakeview Road, but the outsiders are not familiar. What I'm getting at is, and even I had to get used to this for the first few times I drove onto Lakeview Drive. There is an abrupt turn and a steep hill before reaching the bridge. This makes the view of the bridge very difficult to see until you reach the bridge. Last summer, I have noticed through my window a lot of families enjoying fishing or just hanging out on the causeway or the bridge. There are two occasions when I thought, oh my God, there's going to be a fatality. There are children, walking back and forth on the bridge. This situation is a call for road signs to be installed to perhaps warn drivers to slow down, Um, maybe a sign that there is a steep hill ahead. Maybe a sign to tell people to be cautious on the bridge due to unexpected traffic. That's it.
I just have a question for you. I think your concerns are serious. And have you called our Public Works manager, our roads manager, to see
Yeah.
about getting signs and
Yeah,
stuff like that?
last summer I sent a letter to Martin, and
Yes.
I spoke with them a few weeks ago in person,
Okay.
and he acknowledged that he still had my note,
Okay.
my letter. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on March 12th, May 12th, you said, is it March or May 12th?
Yeah, May 12th, I took
May
the
12th.
photo of
I think
the school
they
bus.
had done
They,
the calcium, yeah.
they've graded the road
Graded. They hadn't
once
done the calcium.
already, but
Yeah.
I don't think the calcium, I noticed that when they do apply the calcium, about
I know.
4 or
it
5
gets
days
dry.
later,
I know.
it
I
just
know.
starts all over again.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I have.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Maybe for the signs and stuff like that, we can follow up. Okay. We'll follow up on that. Thank you. Any other comments? Comments from council? Yeah, Rennie?
So cottage country for you, hometown for us. I don't know, I know of the French River, but our cottage is on Trout Lake. And there are many weddings on Trout Lake, whether it be at Silvery Moon Lodge or Happy Landing Lodge or Driftwood, or there's many, many weekends with weddings. And like you say, the noise travels. But weddings are a special occasion, and we do have a bylaw. Bylaw says 11 o'clock. Most people do respect the bylaw. And if they don't, it's a phone call. And then the OPP show up or the bylaw shows up and they will tell them to lower it down. And at that point it becomes, and that's an issue we have here, not only for special occasions, but any occasion, whether it be Canada Day or the Métis Festival or any events we have out here. And I think many towns have a bylaw with noise. That is something that's in our bylaws, has been for years. You cannot control what everybody does at a wedding. There's, you will hope that they respect, and having good people to be in charge of weddings at locations. And we all know that nowadays a lot of people are getting married outside because of the natural beauty, and that's a choice that they have. Does it disrupt some of us? It does at times. But it's not like there's a wedding happening every single weekend. We may be lucky to have 3-4 weddings all summer. And so I get that you're here for, and I'm sorry that you've had issues with noise and stuff, and I completely understand that. That being said, I think that, and I've been to the Muskokas for many weddings, and there's many venues out there that do this, that host, and it's beautiful. And I would love to see my children get married here, So for me, being from the community, should my children decide to get married outside, I should be, and I mean, you control it. So whoever's in charge of the property, there's rules, there's regulation and bylaws. So for that reason, I think a special event is okay. We do give special event permits all the time. As far as dust is we have many roads that have this issue. Springtime, summertime, we have Cancelet, that you have 50 kids going in and out every week out of Trout Lake Road. The drop off, the pickup, the dust, we can put calcium on there so much, but between heat and we don't you know, we do the best we can. As far as signage, there should be signage. Our children are very valuable and so are the people, you know what I mean? So yes, for that, I totally agree that we should be, you know, watchful for that. As far as 90 acres, I think that's a lot of land. We're not talking about, you know, the middle of the village. So that's my opinion on this matter.
Thank you. Any other, Willie? I think you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just reaching for it. Thank you. My questions are more directed to the intent of the property development. As it was mentioned by the first speaker there, I am well aware and am subjected to property usage from Airbnb. I too like to listen to the frogs at night and not have to listen to hooting and hollering and all sorts of music going on. I bought in this area to enjoy the cottage life, to sit at the river's edge and listen to the bullfrogs and listen to the wind rustle through the leaves. That's why I live here. With that being said, I'm just curious, is there a number threshold that we're thinking about for this property development? That would be one of my questions. Also, the geographical nature of the property maybe needs to be considered from sound propagation. That may need to be looked into as well. Do we have an idea what would be an acceptable limit of sound emanating from these events? Those would be my questions.
Sure, who can answer those questions? I know, Willie, we have the bylaws, so the sound is controlled by our bylaws. And the peaceful enjoyment. So if it's party hardy during the day, or even during the day or in the evening, bylaw needs to be informed. But as for a number on this particular property, that's not the purpose of the change of the bylaw. Am I correct, Matt? Or
That's correct. So in conversations with Sylvie and the Sudbury's Planning Board, so there's a couple of tools. So generally speaking, I designed the bylaw the way it is to the permission of a special events as noted with the flexibility of those uses. I didn't go any further with restricting the numbers. Again, I provide the information to council, and council listens to all the information. So that's the ability. Should council see an amendment to my recommendation, that can be done through council to restrict the capacity of how many people are allowed or permitted at a wedding, as an example. So that can be done by the level of council. But for what I brought forward to council this evening is no restrictions on the capacity. And in terms of the other question from a noise attenuation perspective, that in my professional opinion would not be reasonable nor appropriate. That noise attenuation is more for the levels of like CP, CN, rail, houses, and that extent. Those studies are $30,000. I've dealt with those. So just giving you context of like the purpose of that type of study would not be appropriate for this matter.
Thank you.
All right.
We live in such a beautiful area, and it's nice to develop. And I actually see the vision of this property. In my mind's eye, it's a great idea. I'm rather certain that the owners of this property are gonna do it very respectfully. But what about the next owners? And when it does roll out of control, how do we keep control? I know that we're always saying, well, we got bylaws, we got this and that, but we have to keep in mind that there will be limits pushed, and we don't want to have to hop through a whole lot of hurdles to get things back into control again. Those are just my comments.
thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Sylvie, did you want to say before? Did you have any responses you wanted to make? Sure, why don't you go ahead? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So you know what? Like your concerns, I respect that you came out and you've shared your concerns. Actually, when I started having this idea in my head, the first thing that came to my mind, same thing as you guys. The traffic and the noise. Actually, those were the two most, important things. I was raised in a business. I'm here to kind of service a clientele and please my clientele as much as my neighbors. That's just who I am. I understand how important quiet and peace are in rural settings. I value those things too. That's why I'm proposing a limited number of events with clear time restrictions, which are within our bylaws, 11 o'clock. I will be the host. I will be the person organizing. So I'm going to be setting limits. I will have control over the people that will be attending the open space, my venue. I'm also open to using sound mitigation strategies. Like I'm open to any feedback or any constructive criticism, things that could, help us along the way. Even making sure that we have buffers or like tents with flaps that close down when the music starts. I'm open to trying to actually testing it beforehand to make sure that I'm following our bylaws. You know what? I have a beautiful property and I do share your concerns, but I want to share it. I want to share it. And I don't want a lot of people, 1 million people. I just want small, intimate gatherings. I'm open to capping, like I've already capped a number of guests I don't want a lot of guests. So, I want to start small and see how things progress. So I'm here to work with my neighbors. I'm here to work with the municipality. I'm here to work with everyone that it concerns. Yes, I know that we do have a nice community center, like you mentioned. And I appreciate what Renee said, Councillor Carrier. People are looking for natural beauty today. And it doesn't mean that they will be hosting the whole event at my place. I'm going to be offering different packages. Well, hopefully, that's the idea. What else? Oh, and actually for the traffic, yes, I do agree, Mark, the dust. And I'm willing to work with, Public Works and see if we can put up more signage. I agree. Without even having a special event. I think I'm on board with you. There is that sharp corner. I've actually already spoken to Martin about it. So maybe it's something that we can work together and maybe, address it. And dust is, unfortunately, it's a negative point on our roads, but we do install calcium on them, and it's just maybe to bring it to their attention so they're aware of it. And again, for noise, we have a bylaw department. If I'm not compliant, you call. We have the resources to, submit complaints and to address them. That's why we have bylaw in place, so we can address them. For now, that's all I have for comments. I hope that I addressed your concerns, but it's going to be a work in progress. That's all I'm asking the chance to Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Matt, did you have something?
Just a personal point. I know I recently got married outdoors, and my group of friends are, I've been just recently the last couple of years, so real life experiences I can relate to with our cohort of age group of people getting married. The predominantly number one thing is cost of weddings right now. So that's like, I'd love to have 200 people at my wedding, but when you factor the costs in, when we got recently married last year or so, that's once you start adding up the bills, it's so our wedding was 100 people. So I'm seeing a lot. I've been to a couple weddings recently, 40 people, 80 people. I know there's no control on the capacity, but 10, 15 years ago, there were the weddings at the 300 capacity, 250 capacity, because I was part of them. And now you're noticing maximum 150. So again, no control, but just food for thought with real life experiences and myself including that my capacity, even my sister's was 100 people outdoors, and everything now is factoring the cost of food being number one in the venue. So those are things that are you're kind of seeing smaller venues. Why? Because the cost of everything. I know there's always going to be an exception for a larger venue, but just generally speaking, that's the trend I've seen in the last 5 years or so. So just personal thoughts on the outdoor, and I did an outdoor wedding and I know my numbers. So just want to add that.
Anyone else? Seeing none. I declare this public hearing to be concluded, and it's now in order for a council member to make a motion and council to consider the application. Moved by Bob, seconded by Roger.
It is duly moved and seconded, be it resolved that bylaw 2025-21, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 2014-23 as amended, ZBA and General Koshine, be read at first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Thank you. Please be advised that there is a 20-day. Oh, all those in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Please be advised that there is a 20-day appeal period during which time a specified person, public body, or registered owner may appeal the bylaw to the Ontario Land Tribunal by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk of the municipality of French River. The notice of appeal must set out the reasons for the appeal and must be accompanied by the required fee, which is prescribed under the Ontario Lands Tribunal Act 2017. This fee should be made payable to the Minister of Finance. All comments will be treated as public records and given out upon request. And I know you understand that. So I need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Bob and Renee, all those in favor? Thank you. Thank you for coming.